NFL on CBS Week 11. We got 5 games. Of course, on Sunday, you want to check out in that 1 p.m. window a few teams looking for redemption. The Eagles there traveling to Indy, their first loss coming on Monday night. And then you got the Jets and Patriots, and then the Buffalo Bills taking on the Browns, traveling to see them. And at 4:25, the Cowboys also looking for a win after coming out of that bye and taking their L against Green Bay. They're staying in that division in the NFC North against the Vikings. The Bengals staying in their division against the Steelers there at 4:25. Taking a look at that first game to help us kind of spin it forward with the Eagles, our NFL analyst Charles Davis checking in. And CD, you're going to be on the call for that game, Eagles and Colts. Jalen Hurts mentioned after that first loss, it's how we respond. What are you expecting from Philly this Sunday?
Well, he's absolutely right about that, but he also talked to the team prior to the Washington game and gave him the little adage, hungry dogs run faster. And so it kind of proved his point, didn't it? They seem to be a little self-satisfied, not as hungry for the Washington game. Washington, after the thumping Philadelphia put on the first time, flipped the whole script around and kind of put their dukes up and said, let's fight, and got it done against Philadelphia. So I do expect them to bounce back. But Brandon, here's one of those really weird little things that pops up in the NFL. I think out of the last 3 or 4 teams, when you were the last undefeated team in the NFL, when they lost their first game, you know what happened then? They lost the next one after it. Philadelphia going against a little bit of recent history, a little bit of a trend, because oftentimes coaches talk about how you don't let one loss lead you into a second one because you dwell too much on the first one. This is where Philadelphia gets tested on that one. They're saying the right things. You're hearing all the right noise come out of their camp. Now they have to go out and prove it against a Colts team that feels like they've got new life. And that's what's going to be interesting watching that one.
You mentioned that, of course, before the Eagles Sunday. Of course, the story was Jeff Saturday getting the first win for Indy, taking over as the interim role there. He faced a lot of scrutiny, of course, doubters leading up to that game, but here he is now. You get an angry Eagles team coming in. Can he kind of recreate some of that magic here in Week 11?
Yeah, I think that he can. And Brandon, I don't know if it's as much recreating it as continuing it. You know, they've started a new trend, right? They've started a new feeling. Think about it now. New head coach that everyone from the outside world is doubting. So what do teams naturally do? How many times have you heard this and reported on this? It's us against the world. We're banding together. And they may feel that way for their new head coach and everyone attacking them from the outside. Brand new attitude, a different way of doing things, a different way of seeing things, emanating from the interim head coach, Jeff Saturday. He's not going to speak like Frank Reich spoke to the team. He's going to talk to them as himself, and that's going to be different. Guys seem to have grasped onto that pretty well. Last but not least, now they can get back to a good roster prior to the season that was expected to win and contend in the AFC South. That first win could lead them on their streak and see what happens. Remember, they've got an underrated defense, very underrated. They're very good on defensive side of the ball. Matt Ryan was back in form when he got put back in to be the starting quarterback. And by the way, that offensive line, which has really struggled, they played their best game last Sunday against the Raiders and got the run game untracked again. Jonathan Taylor going for 147 yards and a 66-yard touchdown. His 4th touchdown of 60 yards or more in his 3-year career in the NFL.
You might want to throw in some more Matt Ryan runs. I mean, that 39-yarder, longest of his career, it may be the key. I'm just saying, CD, maybe not.
Listen, that 39-yard run, Brandon, longer than any combined yardage runs for a game in Matt Ryan's career.
Wow.
So any game he's played in, he's never even hit 39 yards. He hit it on that one run. That's pretty phenomenal.
All right, we joke about that, of course, the running game. The Eagles will have to actually deal with it when it comes to Jonathan Taylor. Of course, they allowed 152 yards against the Commanders. How do you think they might respond in that matchup?
Well, they're going to have to respond in a big way because they're going to get tested now. This is what the Colts' identity was supposed to be prior to the season. Right now, the run game in the Colts is stunning when you look at the stats. They're somewhere around 30th in the league in running the football. You never would have thought that about the Indianapolis Colts. But last week, they felt like they got their mojo back. How about this? Jordan Davis, the rookie first-round defensive tackle, when he's on the field for Philadelphia, people don't run the balls effectively. He's missed the last 2 ball games due to injury. Combined, teams have run for 320 yards, Brandon. You mentioned the 152 for Washington. It's only 3.1 yards per carry, but they did it consistently enough to hold the ball. How about this? They had 5 drives in the game, 13 plays, 12 plays, 16 plays, 8 plays, 14 plays. They controlled the clock for over 40 minutes. That means Jalen Hurts doesn't have the football during that time. That's what Philadelphia has to guard against. They've got to make sure they can get off the field, get the ball back to their offense. If that happens again, they're in for a long afternoon. And guess what? If that happens, we're writing more stories and talking more about this Jeff Saturday hire. Seems to be very inspired. And if that's the case, I'm applying for a head coaching job in the NFL, Brandon.
Don't start
I want to get involved then.
Don't start that. I mean, you're qualified based on what we're seeing. You're definitely qualified, so you never know.
It's a new way of doing things. We can joke, we can laugh. You and I were having fun with it. Jeff Saturday's playing acumen, smarts, personality, leadership skills, never to be questioned. I know Jeff Saturday. I know all of that. This is just so unconventional for the NFL, and he made a good point. NBA's done it for years, guys out of the broadcast booth. Major League Baseball, I'm old enough to remember an announcer named Jerry Coleman, who became the manager of the San Diego Padres when Ray Kroc owned the team. This has happened in other sports. It hasn't happened in the NFL since Norm Van Brocklin went from leading the Philadelphia Eagles to a championship in 1960 to being head coach of Minnesota Vikings expansion team in 1961, having never coached on the college or the NFL level. So it's brand new, but let's let it play out and see how it goes. And the early returns are good for the Indianapolis Colts.
It worked out for the Colts, didn't work out for the Nets. Steve Nash, I'm just saying, just put it out there, CD. But of course, hey, we're all.
Hey, I'm with you on that. Could go either way, right?
Exactly.
We just have to see how it works for the Colts.
Exactly. Charles Davis always tapping in. Don't forget, you can catch him this Sunday, Week 11 NFL slate on CBS. That game, Eagles and Colts. CD will be there at 1 p.m. Eastern. Made a little redemption, of course. The Eagles are favored at 6.5 there. Then Jets and Patriots. Browns at Bills, also at 1. Then Cowboys traveling to Minnesota to see the Vikings. The Bengals going to Pittsburgh to see the Steelers at 4:25.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.